Imagine a courtroom where justice is a lie. A corrupt judge wields power like a tyrant, and a black teen stands defenseless until a single moment flips the script, exposing secrets that could topple empires. This is corrupt judge yells at black teen in court, then her CIA uncle walks in. A story of betrayal, vengeance, and jaw-dropping twists that'll leave you questioning everything. If you crave stories that grip your soul and keep you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button. Now join our community of truth seekers in the USA and UK, and don't miss a single pulse-pounding update. Corrupt judge yells at black teen in court, then her CIA uncle walks in. The courtroom was a pressure cooker, air thick with tension and the faint hum of a malfunctioning air conditioner. 17-year-old Amara Jackson stood at the defendant's table, her hands clasped tightly, knuckles pale against her dark skin. Her eyes wide and unyielding, darted between the judge's bench and the gallery, where a sparse crowd whispered, like vultures circling a carcass. The Honorable Judge Ronald Hargrove loomed above, his face a mask of disdain, his gavel a scepter of unchecked power. His voice, sharp and venomous, sliced through the room. "Miss Jackson, do you understand the severity of these charges?" he bellowed, his words dripping with contempt. "Shoplifting, resisting arrest. Do you think you're above the law because of your age, or is it something else?" The implication hung heavy, unspoken but clear. As his eyes narrowed on her, Amara's heart pounded, but she held her chin high, refusing to break. She wasn't guilty, not of the theft, at least, but the truth felt like a distant luxury in this room, where justice seemed to bend to Hargrove's will. Amara was no stranger to scrutiny. Growing up in the rough edges of Baltimore, she'd navigated foster homes, systemic bias, and the constant weight of being a black girl in a world quick to judge. The shoplifting charge stemmed from a misunderstanding at a convenience store, a clerk's accusation, a security guard's rough hands, and a police report that painted her as a criminal before she could explain. The resisting arrest charge, that was for pulling away when an officer grabbed her arm too tightly, her instincts screaming danger. Now, standing in this courtroom, she felt the walls closing in. Hargrove's reputation preceded him, a judge known for harsh sentences, especially for defendants who looked like Amara. Whispers in the community called him Iron Ron, a man who thrived on control, rumored to have ties to local power brokers who ensured his rulings aligned with their interests. Amara didn't know the half of it, but she felt the weight of his gaze, heavy with prejudice and something darker, something personal. "Young lady, I've seen your type before," Hargrove continued, leaning forward, his jowls quivering with righteous indignation. "Defiant, disrespectful, thinking you can game the system. Well, not in my courtroom." The gallery murmured, a mix of agreement and discomfort. Amara's public defender, a frazzled man named Mr. Ellis with a cheap suit and a nervous tic, shuffled papers beside her, offering no real defense. He'd barely spoken to her before the hearing, muttering something about pleading guilty to make this quick. Amara's stomach churned. She wanted to scream that she hadn't stolen anything, that the store's security footage would prove it. But Ellis had told her the footage was inconclusive. She felt trapped, a pawn in a game she didn't understand. The judge's tirade grew louder, his voice echoing off the wood-paneled walls. "You think you can stand there, silent, and waste this court's time? Speak, girl." Amara flinched at the word, her fists clenching. She opened her mouth, but before she could respond, the courtroom doors swung open with a heavy thud. Every head turned. A man stepped inside, his presence commanding, his stride deliberate. He was tall, broad-shouldered with a close-cropped beard and skin a shade darker than Amara's. His suit was impeccably tailored, but it was the way he carried himself, calm, unyielding, like a storm held in check, that made the room go still. Hargrove's face froze, his gavel hovering midair. The man's eyes locked onto the judge, and for the first time, Amara saw fear flicker in Hargrove's expression. "Uncle Marcus," Amara whispered, her voice barely audible. Marcus Jackson, her mother's older brother, was a ghost from her past. She hadn't seen him in years, not since her mother's funeral when she was 10. He'd always been a mystery, a man who appeared and disappeared without explanation, leaving behind only vague stories of government work. Amara had heard rumors he was CIA, but she'd never believed them. Until now, Marcus didn't acknowledge her yet. His gaze stayed on Hargrove, who seemed to shrink under its weight. "Judge Hargrove," Marcus said, his voice low but cutting, "I suggest you lower your tone when addressing my niece." The gallery erupted in whispers. Hargrove's face reddened, his authority challenged in a way he clearly wasn't used to. "Who are you to interrupt my court?" he snapped, but his voice wavered. Marcus stepped closer, pulling a badge from his pocket, not a flashy display, but deliberate, letting the light catch the CIA emblem. The room went deathly quiet. "I'm Marcus Jackson," he said, "and I'm here to ensure justice is served, not perverted." The word perverted landed like a slap, and Hargrove's eyes widened. Amara's heart raced. She didn't understand what was happening, but she felt a shift, like the ground beneath her was cracking open. Marcus turned to her briefly, his expression softening. "You okay, kid?" She nodded, too stunned to speak. He gave her a small, reassuring smile before turning back to the judge. "I've been watching this case, Hargrove, and I've been watching you." What followed was a masterclass in controlled chaos. Marcus didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. He presented a folder to the bailiff, who hesitated before passing it to Hargrove. "This contains evidence you'll want to review," Marcus said. "Security footage from the store, unedited. Witness statements the police conveniently lost, and a few other documents you might find illuminating." Hargrove's hands trembled as he opened the folder. Amara caught a glimpse of photos, emails, and what looked like financial records. The judge's face drained of color. The truth began to unravel in the courtroom, piece by devastating piece. The shoplifting charge was a setup, orchestrated by a local businessman, Victor Crane, who owned a chain of convenience stores and had a vendetta against Amara's foster family. Crane had bribed the store clerk to accuse Amara, knowing her history in the system would make her an easy target. But that was only the surface. Marcus revealed that Hargrove was on Crane's payroll, part of a network of corruption that extended to City Hall. Hargrove had been handing down harsh sentences to black and brown defendants, funneling them into a private prison system where Crane's brother held a lucrative contract. The scheme was worth millions, and Hargrove's role was to keep the pipeline flowing. Amara listened, stunned, as Marcus laid it bare. He'd been investigating Crane for months, not for the CIA but as a personal mission after learning Amara was in trouble. His CIA connections, however, gave him access to resources most couldn't dream of: wiretaps, financial trails, even a mole in Crane's operation. The folder contained enough evidence to bury Hargrove and Crane, both the judges. Bravado crumbled. "This is preposterous," he stammered, but his voice lacked conviction. The gallery was in an uproar, reporters scribbling furiously, sensing a scandal that would dominate headlines. But the twists didn't stop there. Marcus dropped another bombshell. Amara wasn't just a random target. Crane's vendetta against her foster family stemmed from a land dispute. Amara's foster mother, Ms. Clara, owned a small plot of land in a gentrifying neighborhood that Crane wanted for a new development. When Clara refused to sell, Crane used his influence to target Amara, hoping to pressure the family into submission. Hargrove, complicit in the scheme, had agreed to throw the book at her, ensuring she'd be locked away as leverage. It was a calculated move, but they hadn't counted on Marcus. The courtroom descended into chaos. Hargrove banged his gavel, demanding order, but his authority was gone. Marcus remained calm, his presence a stark contrast to the judge's unraveling. "You've abused your power for too long," Marcus said. "This ends today." He turned to the bailiff. "I've already contacted the FBI. They're waiting outside." As if on cue, the doors opened again, and two agents in suits entered, their expressions grim. Hargrove slumped in his chair, defeated. Amara was cleared of all charges, the case dismissed with prejudice. The gallery erupted in cheers, but Amara felt numb. She'd been a pawn in a game far bigger than herself, her life nearly destroyed. For profit and power, Marcus guided her out of the courtroom, shielding her from the flashing cameras and shouting reporters. In the hallway, he pulled her into a hug. "I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner," he said. She clung to him, tears streaming down her face. "You're here now," she whispered. But the story wasn't over. As Amara and Marcus left the courthouse, a man in a black SUV watched from across the street. He was Victor Crane's enforcer, a shadowy figure known only as the Fixer. Crane wasn't done. If Hargrove was going down, he'd make sure Amara and Marcus paid a price. The Fixer made a call, his voice cold. "We moved to Plan B." Days later, Amara and Marcus were in hiding, staying at a safe house Marcus had secured. He revealed more about his work, not just CIA, but a special division tasked with rooting out domestic corruption tied to international crime syndicates. Crane, it turned out,